How do, Graham?
Hello, Alan. Alan, I'd like to talk about Jeffrey Archer.
Go on.
Right. Do you think that there's a law for the rich and a law for the poor in this case?
You're not talking about Jeffrey Archer, you're asking me a question.
Yes, all right then, I'm asking you a question. Would you think there's a law for the rich and a law for the poor?
No.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
Why wouldn't you?
Because there isn't.
Why?
There is only one law.
Do you think that's true or false?
You asked me my opinion, I gave you an answer. Why are you now asking me whether I think my opinion is true or false? Are you an imbecile?
No, I'm not an imbecile,
Then
but
why
you
are
are, but
Goodbye. If you think I'm an imbecile, don't waste your breath asking me questions, you gormless prat. How do, Gareth?
Hello, and good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to talk about the Star Wars Strategic Defence Initiative, if I may.
Go on.
Well, I'd like to outline a number of the methods proposed and then criticise them. Well, one of the methods is whereby an H-bomb is exploded, and the energy from the H-bomb is used to direct an X-ray laser at incoming missiles. Now then, the second method proposed is just a normal satellite laser system. But this would require perhaps the power, and it would have to be a nuclear power plant in orbit. And I think this would require the amount of energy required to light a city. So I think these methods are way beyond the technology available today.
What have you got to base your thoughts upon?
Well, it was a documentary I saw on the television.
But who's to say the documentary was correct?
Who's to say it wasn't?
Well, no one is, but you're perpetrating it upon us as if it's chapter and verse and the Bible, as it were.
Well, it was actually a number of eminent scientists.
Well, there are a number of other eminent scientists say we could have the technology within 10 years.
Well, I think they're wrong.
Well, fine. What have you got as evidence?
Well, basically, the sort of technology required is just not possible to...
All things are possible.
Well, for example, let's say another of the problems. Well, all things are not possible. For example, it's not possible to do the impossible.
I'll grant you that one.
Good point there. Yeah, but never mind that. Anyway, one problem would be...
Actually, I won't grant it you, because it is possible to do the impossible, thus rendering it no longer impossible. But go on.
How do you get that?
It's a simple use of language. Go on.
Okay, fine. I'm sure you're much better at playing language games than me, of course.
It would seem I'm probably better than you at science also. Go on.
Well, you're not, because you don't know enough about it, really. Because...
Well, you've not actually convinced me that you do, but you still have time in which to try.
Okay, well, for example, one of the problems with tracking the missiles would be that, as I'm sure you know if you're better at science than me, exploding a bomb, a nuclear bomb, in the upper atmosphere renders all radio communications impossible.
Currently.
Yep. And, well, it's simple laws of physics, actually.
You cannot change the laws of physics.
Exactly. So what we'd have, if the Soviets did that, or any other enemy, is a Star Wars system that would be totally blind immediately.
Indeed,
and useless.
Providing that your assumption and other scientists' assumptions that a nuclear explosion or a nuclear device will have to be used in order to power the system. Now, that is not necessarily the case.
You mean...
That is how it is perceived at the moment.
You mean to power the Star Wars weapon?
Yes.
Well, I'm talking about the Soviets would confuse the Star Wars system by detonating a nuclear weapon themselves.
That may well not produce the desired effect.
Yes, possibly, but is it worth spending billions and finding out that it won't work when...
The answer to that is, in retrospect, with hindsight, if you like, the answer would be no.
Yeah.
But when you're only trying to find out, you always have the, should we say, the hope, even the belief that one day you will find out. I don't think we would have ever attempted to fly if people didn't accept that a lot of them are going to fail.
Yeah, I agree that research
and for sure, it is absolutely clear in my mind that we would never be on the moon. Ever.
Yeah.
No, you can't get on the moon. So every scientist in the world said, you cannot travel to the moon. So, why bother looking?
I'm not sure every scientist in the world.
Oh, I'm sure they did in the 1400s. Well,
yeah.
Come on. Okay, so you laugh because it was 600 years ago. Well, all right, 600 years ago it was funny. 500 years ago it was still funny. 100 years ago it was fairly amusing. 10 years ago it happened. 20 years ago it happened. So laugh all you like. But we could well be in terms of the scale of science, we could well still be in the 14th century. Couldn't we?
It's not.
And we're all laughing when in fact in 600 years' time it'll be done.
Well, it's not always useful to use that as an argument, really, to say.
No, I'm not really concerned whether it's always useful. It certainly seemed useful on this occasion, because all you can do is quote it as a poor argument. You can't actually defeat it.
Well, it's pretty simple. We know the basic physics, and nothing's going to change.
We know
that.
the basic physics.
That's Mr. Thingy
Indeed, we do know the basic physics, but we don't know them in order or sufficiently to say that there will never be any change in that.
Well, I say we do.
Well, fine, you're entitled to say that you do.
I know.
But nothing's going to alter in your view. But in my view, things alter every day.
Well, I think
The fact still remains that you do not know, and those other scientists do not know, that the Star Wars project, A, will fail, and B, would be required to do what you just said it would have to do in order to succeed. With your knowledge, and with the knowledge of the scientists, that may be the case at the moment. Times change.
they'd have to change pretty fast for 10 years.
Well, I'm not suggesting that it would be done in 10 years.
And the whole laws of physics would have to change as well.
No, that's not necessarily so. What would have to change, if you're insisting that the laws of physics remain the same, because there are areas of physics that we do not yet know exist. When you say laws of physics don't change, Boyle's law won't change. But what they believed before Boyle's law sure as hell changed.
That's true, yeah.
So the laws of physics don't change once they're established, but there are laws that aren't written yet.
If I could just quote one more problem with the Star Wars.
Quote it if you like, but it's only conjecture.
It can only be tested once for real, unfortunately.
That is also the case of the bullet.
So
Each bullet you fire is only ever tested once. Every shot is an experiment.
exactly.
So that doesn't mean anything either.
Well, it does really, because
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
There may be a way of demonstrating its effectiveness without actually using it in anger. We're probably not aware of that yet because we don't know what it is. But once we find out what it is, we might be able to find out a way of demonstrating it.
in a billion years or so, maybe.
Well, I'm not in any hurry, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, fine. You're the one that's going to be disappointed then. How do, Fred?
Good evening, Alan.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm very well, and I recognise that voice, I know.
Do you really?
But never mind, go on.
Well, I've just come to the conclusion it's not a bad life being a slug or a snail. You know, folks are putting...
All this free beer and...
Well, they're putting salt down. Why not a bit of vinegar and a few chips and a cup of beer to wash it down with? They're getting a better supper than I am.
You might be right, Fred. But if anyone knows how to get rid of slugs, you should.
Aye, I know that.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Go on.
Salt's the best thing, definitely.
Is it?
Yep.
Right.
Slug pellets are useless. Salt's the best thing. I've quite a few in my garden, but salt clears them away.
Okay. What do you do? Tell us
Just
where you put
sprinkle
it.
ordinary table salt. You watch where the trails
are, yeah.
and round your borders, and just sort of put a defensive line of salt, ring of salt round it. They'll not cross the salt, no way.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Cheers, Fred.
Cheers, give my regards to Vicky.
I think I might. Ta-ra.
Cheers.
How do, Sean? Hang on, we've lost him. Hello, Trevor.
Alan,
Yes?
I'd just like to express my disgust at the way religion is pumped into the minds of young people in schools. I've left school now, but I was forced to go to assembly every week to listen and pray for God. I just don't think that's right at all.
Why?
But I would like to.
Why?
Because I think I myself do not believe in God. But I was forced, I had to go to assembly. And in one case, when I refused to go to assembly, my name was given to the headmaster and I was forced to read on stage the next day. In the next assembly. And I just think there should be like...
Well, I'm not really sure that making you attend assembly and perform certain rituals that for others have religious meaning, but for you cannot because you don't have a God, does you any harm at all?
Yeah, I think people should be given the choice, though.
But how can they be given the choice if they don't know what they're choosing from?
You go to secondary school at the age of 11.
Yes.
And I think that's more than adequate to make up your own mind.
Well, you're wrong.
No, I believe it is.
Well, fine. I know what you believe. I'm sorry.
I made up my own mind by
Sean, sorry, Trevor,
yeah.
Definitely you'd made up your mind. Definitely you believe it is a good age or a suitable age to make such decisions, and definitely you were wrong in that belief.
Why?
Because 11 is no age to have been given the opportunity to consider all the options, or even to have the intellect consider yea or nay on matters of such magnitude.
So you're saying that I was wrong when I was 11 to choose which religion?
No, I'm not saying you were wrong to make the choice.
You're saying that
I am saying that
people may be wrong.
No, listen to the answers, and you may well find that there's something in there you can understand. On the basis of what you've said so far, I doubt it, but you may. Listen carefully. When you're 11, you can make all kinds of decisions. But unfortunately, you are not mature enough, you are not educated enough, to be honest, you're not intellectual enough to make those decisions properly. Whether you get the decision right then and stick to it really doesn't matter. What is important is whether you made the decision with the right information. And I suggest to you, indeed I stress to you, that you cannot assimilate the right information at the age of 11 on any important decision.
Right. Can I just take it a little bit further then? Okay, at the age of 14, which is exactly the same, we were still forced to go to assembly.
Fine.
I had to choose in school, and I was advised which subject to pursue in order to take in years 4 and 5 towards my O-levels, which would evidently result in my A-levels, which therefore would result in my future career. And I think, well, at the age of 14, I was allowed to make my decisions on what my future career would be, but not whether I wanted to follow the religion of God and Christianity.
Fine. The only thing wrong with that situation is that you were making a decision about your O-levels and A-levels, which I don't think you should have had to make at that age. I do accept that the system says that, but I believe the system to be wrong. My arguments on the 11-year-old do not change for the next 14 years. I don't think you should be making decisions of such magnitude until you're 25. I'm not talking about your exams now, I'm talking about your belief in God or otherwise.
Well, you have to make those decisions in life, don't you?
I don't think you ever have to make a decision about a belief in God. I don't think anything forces you to make the decision.
Yeah, that's true.
You have a choice. You have the freedom to decide whenever you like. But there are certain rituals in our society, and they are part of the heritage of this nation, and I don't see anything wrong with you being a part of that heritage. I was sent to church. When I was a soldier, I was sent to church. They knew I was non-religious, but I still attended church parade because it was a parade. For me, it was a parade. For them, it was a religious parade.
Yeah, we're still forced in this life to do things which we don't want to do. Like
Everybody is. Yes, absolutely. Well, no one in this country is forced.
Well, yeah, that was the basis of my argument in the first place.
No one is forced.
I was, practically forced.
No,
I wasn't.
Have you got a pair of ears?
Yes.
Well, use the bloody things.
Yeah, I'm doing.
No one is forced against their properly assessed will to attend religious services in this country. Now, put into mind the fact that I said their properly assessed will. You're not in a position to make up your mind properly until you're mature, until you start maturing, which happens around about 25. It varies, but it sure as hell don't start at 11.
I do believe that certain physicians quote that your brain is dying at the age of 14.
I don't give a stuff whether your brain's dying. What I'm saying to you,
Surely that affects your beliefs.
No, it doesn't.
Your
Actually. No, it
psychological
doesn't.
behaviour.
No, it doesn't. Because if that were the case, 14-year-olds would be the wisest people in the world, and they are patently not. Good night, cretin. How do Maureen? Oh no, it's Graham first, then Maureen. How do Graham?
How do Alan? What I wanted to talk to you tonight, I don't know if you know anything about road rallying at all. I don't know if you've ever experienced it. Have you ever come across that particular situation?
What do you want to know?
Well, basically, with road rallying nowadays, the RAC governing body has decided to virtually ban it in its present form because they believe it is too fast and it is getting too dangerous.
Well, what they've done is they've said something about the vehicles, haven't they?
To a certain extent, yes. They've also totally changed the timing system, which will make it a slower event, but also, I believe, it'll make it a more dangerous event, due to the fact that they have put sections in which have got to have a very, very slow time done on them, and it's got to be done in that time. Now, as it is at present, it is time to the second on selective sections with a different sort of section between, which you've got to do the speed limits on, 30 miles an hour or whatever. Under the new timing, it's going to mean that they can put in what's called a regularity section, which they can say you've got to do a mile in an hour and a half, which might leave you 150 miles to do in less than 5 hours. And I believe that is actually going to make the sport a lot faster and a lot more dangerous. Now, I don't know if you would agree with something on those lines and whether they're going about it
something that puts a minimum time in which to travel a distance obviously has the potential of being dangerous.
Yeah, this is what I agree with. And also, the other problem is...
What is the thinking behind that?
The thinking behind trying to slow it down, or the timing?
The thinking behind that process of trying to slow it down.
Behind the process is they believe it's now getting too fast with too powerful cars, and they are basically trying to make it safer by slowing down driving, which they hope will improve driving standards. Now, I don't think that quite follows, because with the new timing system they can't really slow it down because the organisers can get around it a lot more easily. And I believe, even though I'm a competitor myself, I believe it is actually going to make it more dangerous.
I don't understand why they've used that system, because surely the simplest way is to say, well, OK, you've got to travel from here to there, which is 500 miles, and there is a maximum time. And if you run over, if you get there before that maximum time, then you're penalised.
Well, there is a certain part of it. It's a very complicated system, but there is a certain
part
of it that
I
does
appreciate
that.
It is complicated. I don't see why it doesn't all have to be so complicated. Why don't you just say, on the next section, which is 500 miles long, you've got this maximum time, which incorporates all the speed limits, and if you go over that, then you're penalised.
Good. In a way,
totally simply.
Yeah, I'm glad you're saying that, because that's what I think would be a better system of changing it and actually getting the rallying right. And I'd just like the RAC to follow that thinking instead of making an absolute balls up like they have done of trying to change it.
They've probably got administrators, you see, doing it, and as soon as you let them near anything, it's knackered.
Yeah. Also, the thing is as well, they say driving standards might be improved by it, because as it is, they think they're going too fast and so on and so forth, and it's dangerous driving. I'd like to know, therefore, while last Saturday on the Talkback charity rally, that about 10 spectators in a Range Rover had to pull a police car out of a ditch, and it's the police that's saying that the driving standards on the rally are abysmal, and yet the only accidents on the actual rally of cars travelling at much greater speeds were only very slight, and it's all properly covered by insurance and landowners nearby.
Okay, well, there's a very simple answer to that, and that is there have been occasions when the police haven't had any crashes at all, and we've had to scrape up and bury rally drivers, so I don't think that is a fair quotation. However, I agree with you that there must be a much simpler way of doing it. The RAC will never find it because it's got too many administrators.
The Midnight News, this is Alan King. The government has rejected a call for a Commons debate on the running of old people's homes. The call was made by Mr Jakes Arnold, Tory MP for Gravesham, after one home in South London was closed amid allegations of cruelty, but the Speaker turned down the request. Janet Wyatt reports.
Mr Arnold said there were now 2 urgent cases.
By the closure of the Haven old people's home in my constituency of Gravesend, and at a time when we have seen the publication of a report on the Nybevan Lodge old people's home in Peckham, that this is a matter of high urgency.
The owner of the Haven, Udham Singh Batel, is strenuously denying allegations of neglect. A statement from his solicitor says he wants to reopen the home where he says residents felt safe and happy. A post-mortem on one former resident has revealed she died of septic poisoning. Police inquiries are continuing.
The Soviet Union says a deal scrapping all medium and short-range missiles worldwide could be signed within 2 months. Soviet nuclear disarmament negotiators in Geneva have tabled the Kremlin's new proposals for a worldwide missile pact. Vital new evidence may be holding up the trial of the British Army officer accused of smuggling £500,000 worth of cannabis into Sweden. Lifeguards captain Simon Hayward's trial was postponed at the last minute, and police have revealed that they're still interrogating possible new witnesses. Lindsay Taylor reports from Sweden.
In a long-awaited statement, police said they'd postponed the trial because they're still questioning people after, it's understood, vital new information was presented to them in the past 2 days. No details have been revealed, but a source close to the court says the information could either be to the definite detriment or benefit of Captain Hayward, explaining why the defence lawyer agreed to the trial being postponed. Lindsay Taylor, IRN, Sweden.
Home Secretary Douglas Hurd has agreed to look at alleged new evidence in the Guildford pub bombing case. 5 people are serving life sentences after being convicted of involvement in the IRA bomb outrage. A man has been shot dead in West Belfast. The IRA claim he was a part-time member of the Ulster Defence Regiment. 2 gunmen opened fire on the man's car as he was driving near the strongly Republican Twinbrook estate. Meanwhile, a bomb's exploded in Londonderry. The device went off near the city centre minutes after gunmen opened fire on a police station. No one was injured. Environment Secretary Nicholas Ridley is putting the brake on 17 high-spending councils by rate-capping them next year. Among the new names on Whitehall's hit list are Manchester, Liverpool, Kingston upon Hull and Ealing and Waltham Forest in London. Mr Ridley says the big spenders have only themselves to blame.
For local authorities who are frugal and not extravagant, they will have quite an easy time when they come to make their rates next year. For those who want to go on a spending spree and spend up, this is going to be a very difficult and tough settlement for them. They'll find that they have really quite severe rate increases to defend, and it will be their fault, not mine, if that is the position they find themselves in.
Independent Radio News.
Welcome to Friday, just after 3 minutes past midnight. If you wish to join us on the phone in, you can.
This is it, the best place to go. The Coach House Diner is the one you'll want to know. Yeah, this is it.
Now the people who brought you Blackpool's famous seafood restaurant bring the Coach House Diner to Lytham, specialising in family meals with an exciting menu offering the widest selection in the area. A family restaurant with family prices. The Coach House Diner, opposite the Green on Henry Street, Lytham.
Coach House Diner, this is it.
J-Max Clothes Shop for family wear.
J-Max half-price clothing sale starts this Thursday, the 30th of July. Our already crazy prices have been slashed by 50%, so make sure you and all your family take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime offer now. You'll recognise the styles and be amazed at the quality. But even more important, you'll love the half prices on selected garments. J-Max half-price clothing sale starts Thursday, the 30th of July, throughout the Northwest.
J-Max throughout the Northwest.
Skipper of Burnley, the best of service. Skipper of Burnley, get you on the road. Skipper of Burnley, the family business. Skipper of Burnley for Ford.
Skipper are proud to announce they're the authorised outlet for mobile telephones to all kinds of vehicle users. In this day and age, being out of touch means lost business and lost opportunities. Keep in touch. Get in touch with Skipper of Burnley, your Ford main car and phone dealer.
Skipper of Burnley for Ford.
Ring him if you dare.
Allan Beswick, the late night show.
And the number, of course, is Preston 561,000. Look, you. Hello, Maureen.
Hello, I'm Gary's mum. He's just phoned you up before. I'm a bit upset with you cutting him off. I mean to say, he just left school in May, and he's been trying his best to get a job. He's been down to the careers office every week, doing his best. And, it unfair what you did to him. He's dead fed up.
I'm sorry, Maureen. I'm not in the business of being fair.
Well, he's cheesed off as it is. We're going down to careers office, getting all these cards, which are
Maureen,
grossly unsuitable for him.
Maureen,
Maureen. Yeah.
What do you want me to do?
Well, buy your program. Someday, surely to God, can give him a job. He's tried and tried
I'm not
and
giving him
tried.
a job.
I know you can't. You're all right. You've got a job there.
I have indeed.
My son hasn't.
No, well, what?
He's trying
Maureen,
his best.
Maureen, Can we just establish that you're not going to break my heart? If you're upset because I cut him off, tough.
So, he's only a young lad. He's trying
All right,
his best.
it's still tough. There's nothing I can do. I can't change the world, Maureen.
No, but there's a lot of people listening to your programme.
But I'm not about to create a programme or allow my programme to be used just to appoint young men who are cheesed off.
No, but you didn't have to cut him off.
I didn't have
Just
to, no.
because
I don't... I'm sorry, Maureen, I don't do what I have to do. I do what I want to do.
Fair enough. He wants a job. He's
Fine,
not getting
I'm
one.
not
We're going
bothered.
down to Crew's office.
I'm not bothered.
He's only a young
Maureen,
lad.
I'm not bothered.
He's trying his best. There's a lot of people.
Maureen, I'm not bothered.
There's a lot of people.
I'm not bothered. You're not going to change anything. He was cut off. If he doesn't like it, he can cry. He can stamp his feet. He can even get his mummy to ring. He can even get his mummy to ring.
Hey, now listen a minute, Alan.
Hey, now listen a minute, Maureen.
I don't stick up for my kids.
Who was it then? Who is this doing it?
Listen a minute. Right, just for one moment.
What?
Right. I were upset. He chose to ring you. Right, you
I'm
chose
aware
to
of
cut
that.
him off.
That is
right?
correct.
But he's only a young lad. He's trying
You've
his
told
best.
me
He's
that.
just
Maureen, you've told me all
He's
this.
just finding
Maureen,
his
you've
feet
told me
now.
all this.
Okay,
well,
I'm
they're at
telling
the end
you
of
a
his
bit
legs,
more.
Maureen. I don't want to hear anything that you've already told me.
No, it's all
You're
right.
not- Maureen,
You've got a
Maureen,
job.
you are not telling me a bit more. You're telling me the same patronising crap that you've already told me. I don't want to hear it again. If you've got something new to say, let's hear it. There, you silly old biddy, you've gone. How do, Neil?
Hello?
What do you want?
We were just having a discussion with this lad here. Why, if you jump up in the air on a moving train, you don't sort of shoot forwards or backwards? Because...
I've forgotten the physics law that explains it, but there is a physics law that explains it all. But I've forgotten it. It's a long time since I did physics. No doubt someone will phone up and tell us that physics law. No doubt it'll be Gary, so we can press potential employers. So if anyone knows, give us a ring and tell us on Preston 561000. I'm damned. I think... No, I can't remember. Anyway, how do, Paul?
Hello?
Yep.
All right, Al. I'd like to talk about the pubs being open all day.
Go on, talk about it.
Well, I think it's brilliant idea, because when you're drinking and it comes like 3 o'clock, you've got to go home and that, and you end up falling asleep and you don't get to come out in the night. If they're open all day, you can just sit in there and you're just getting into it, and then you can start shouting the landlady and that, "Landlord, bring me fine ales and wines and good food and books and wenches," and all that.
Why do you want books and wenches?
That's why, because I'm horny.
Books and wenches? What are you going to read?
What?
Why are you going to read?
Nudie books.
Sorry?
I'll read nudie books.
Please listen to my ditty. It may not be very witty, nor even slightly funny, but it will help save you money. For me, from cradle to grave, I aim to shop and save. I buy out I need, for next to nought indeed. There's meat and veg and cheese and pigs and booze and clothes and cards and sweets and pigs and pet food and household things. So shop and save a load down Blackpool's Waterloo Road. In the market they call new, and over road the M2. Thank you. Poetry in prices from the New Market and M2 Market.
It's the place to come, where shopping can be fun. The Newmarket Waterloo Road.
Macmillan's. Now there's a good Scottish name.
Is that the Macmillans on Blackburn Road?
Aye, sell McAudis and McVolkswagens they do.
Isn't that Audi and Volkswagen?
Dinna argue with me, lassie. Being a Scot, I know McValue when I see it.
So we're going to buy a McAudi?
Or a McVolkswagen. Macmillan's will make us a good McOff or an old car.
A McOff? Oh, yes, but what if I prefer something else?
Yes, Sassenach, haven't they convinced you?
Oh, yes. I think a McAudi or a McVolkswagen would be magnificent.
Now you're talking sense. Macmillan's, McBlackburn Road, McBolton. Telephone 31464. McCommon sense.
Hello there. I'm just having my HGV driving lesson with North Manchester HGV. They do hourly lessons and intensive courses to put you on the right road. If you're an HGV or PSV novice, for just £30 you can have a full 2-hour assessment, including licence and medical fee. Now, if you pass with them, they'll guarantee you a job interview. So what are you waiting for? Ring North Manchester HGV Training Centre on Bolton 23235. That's Bolton 23235.
How do? Carl. Oh, I don't know who we've got now. They're all mixed up. How do, John?
Hello, Alan.
Yep.
I'd like to talk on the subject of deja vu.
Go on.
The fella before was trying to prove
reincarnation.
Yes.
But the explanation that I heard was that the subconscious interprets the picture before the brain. So when the picture gets there, it thinks, oh, I've seen this before, but it hasn't.
That's an interesting theory, anyway.
You see, and you think, oh, I've seen this before, but you haven't. The picture's already waiting for that message.
It's a good theory. I don't know how we're going to prove it, but it's a good theory.
No, that's the only explanation I've heard.
Thank you very much.
When people are arguing on reincarnation, are they arguing spiritually or physically?
It varies. They argue different ways.
Because a good argument for the physical one would be if the body was decomposing, a tree or whatever could take in those atoms and use them, again. Because all nature's doing is reusing those pieces, isn't it? Those atoms.
Yes, but I think we could prove that the atoms of a particular body had not been reused in the way of creating a new being, because if we put some atoms into a particular place, let us say they are in the form of a chicken, and we kill it, and we put those atoms of the dead chicken into a place that is confined but not sealed, and they decompose, we can still have the same number of atoms in there. They have simply rearranged themselves in such a way that visually and chemically the product has changed state, but it's still there. So it hasn't gone off and become a snake or even become another chicken.
No, I don't mean, something like people say, well, I ought to come back as a dog or something stupid like that.
Well, you can't think of anything more stupid than coming back as a dog, perhaps a cat, but the fact still remains that we can experiment with atoms in that way, can't we?
That's just two explanations, because all these people going out with a lot of rubbish,
Well, the programme is about people coming out with rubbish, Johnny. You're trying to put me out of work. Tara.
Good night.
How do Carl?
Good evening, Alan.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'd like to talk. I've got two Alsatians. One's 12 months old, the other's only 8.
8 what?
Months old.
Go on.
And, they're barking at birds and, daft things like that. And I'm wondering, the neighbours, they're threatening me, saying, they're going to get in contact with some authorities. And I'm wondering who could they get in contact with?
Ultimately, they can get in touch with the magistrates' court and get an injunction telling you to stop your dogs from barking. And if you don't, the magistrates can ultimately, at the end of the line, if you like, they can order you to have them put to sleep.
Yeah, but...
That's the answer to your question.
I see. And they never roam or anything, and the garden is completely fenced off.
Well, you can't fence off the bark.
Well, I know that.
That is what they're complaining about.
Yeah.
So all the fences in the world won't stop the sound going through.
No. I see. Okay, then, thanks.
Thanks, bye. How do Dave? Hello, Dave. How do Andy?
Fine, thanks, Al. How are you?
Very well.
Well, before I start, I'll think about slugs. You know how people are saying about salt, using salt?
Mm.
If you mix it with some cow manure, it works wonders. It gets rid of all mine. The right nuisance here. So just
I can't think what I'd like worse. Slugs are a concoction of salt and cow crap, but never mind.
Well, it does. It does the plants well as well.
As well.
Well, what I talk about is weapons for the elderly. You had a cretin on before, a couple of months ago, about using guns without any bullets in.
Mm.
Well, have you heard about the new weapon in America that the police are using, like stun guns?
Yes.
Well, why don't you issue them with them?
Because they've got to be physically capable of using it.
Well, why don't we just, give them some good instructions with them?
What do you think the criminal is going to do if he's aware that all the pensioners that he's about to rob have got stun sticks?
Keep away.
Or alternatively get something better?
Well, it's better than what they've got now, isn't it, though?
Well, it depends.
It's surely a deterrent.
It may well be a deterrent, or it may mean that the criminal has to be more determined. You see, the criminal at the moment believes, or is in a position where it is logical for him to believe, that if he runs in screaming and yelling and threatening, then the pensioner will cower and do as he or she is told. But if he knows that the pensioner has some kind of defensive device, then he knows he's got to go in there with much more violence in order to overcome the pensioner, and may believe that he's got to go in there and kill him if he wants to get away.
Well, why not give him like a pair of nunchuckers? You know, upgrade him.
A pair of...
Nunchuckers.
I'm sure you're going to tell me what they are.
Have you heard of ninjas? You know, men trained in the way of ninjutsu.
No. So you're going to tell me, are you?
Well, do you want me to?
Well,
Okay,
I won't know if you don't.
Yeah. Well, many years ago in Japan...
I don't want the history of it. Just tell
Okay.
me what one is.
Well, they're just like martial artists.
Yes,
training weapons.
Yes, tell me what the nunchaka...
Like, you know, flails? Like 2 pieces of wood stuck together with a chain in the middle.
No.
Well, they're a very good weapon.
What are they?
Well, they're just a wooden, like, baton.
A wooden baton, there.
Yeah.
So you give
with
them this...
like, but they're, you know, very enforced as well.
Very enforced. What
you know,
does
very
that mean?
strong.
So you give this pensioner a big stick that's very strong.
Yeah.
So what does a criminal do? Gets a bigger stick.
He pretty scares himself. That's what he does.
No, he probably comes with a revolver and blows a bullet through their head.
Well, upgrade him again.
Okay, give him a machine gun. What does a criminal do? Rolls a hand grenade in first.
No, he comes with other assassins.
All right, but we haven't made any progress, have we? All we've done now is kill a few pensioners and make an awful lot of mess.
Yeah, exactly.
So why not just take it back down to where it is and try to encourage them to put locks on their doors?
Oh, let's give him something like a Chinese stars, shuriken.
Well, not everyone is quite good at using them.
Well, I am. 'Cause I'm in a,
Are you a pensioner?
I will be in a couple of years.
A couple of years?
Yeah.
You're 63 now, are you?
Yeah.
Last time I saw anything like you, it was having Andrex rubbed across it. How do Sean...
Hello, Alan. I'd like to bring up a subject that I think you talked about a few weeks ago to a fella, about low-flying planes over the Lake District in particular.
Yeah.
The ones that are on exercise and that. I think they should... I know there's a lot of people wanting to stop the planes because...
Can we really just get on with what you think? You're not there to represent the opposite point of view.
Okay, then. I think they shouldn't stop them. I think they should carry on having these exercises over the Lake District.
But why should they? Why should the people of the Lake District have to put up with it when you don't? Why not have them low-flying over Preston? They've got bomb towns as well.
Okay. Now, I don't really think that there's
Answer the question. Why shouldn't we have them low-flying over Preston? If they've got to put up with it in the Lake District, because I promise you that when the Russians come, they won't invade the Lake District, they'll invade the towns. So why don't we have them flying low over Preston? It's not dangerous. Or if it is dangerous, you're saying that we should just accept the danger because we need it.
Well, let's just accept that they're flying low at the moment. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's...
Well, I'm not bothered. You're saying they should fly low over the lakes. I'm saying you're fine. If that's true, then why the pig in hell shouldn't they fly low over Preston?
Well, okay, I
Or
think...
Burnham's or any bloody place other.
Okay, I think they should fly low over Preston or wherever it may be, as long as they get that in-flight experience.
Right, well, let's clutter up the skies with them all. God forbid. How do, John?
It won't take me a minute, Alan, explain why I'm calling. Is it convenient now?
You have a minute.
Right. It's about this MP's pay rise. This pay rise they voted for themselves. I was just wondering, what do you feel about that?
I thought you were going to explain why you're calling.
Well, I'm explaining about this pay rise.
Well, you've not explained anything. I know what the pay rise is. I knew before you rang. I know what an MP is. I knew before you rang. All you've done is ask me a question related to the two. Have you got out to say or not?
Well, I think it's downright fair. I really do. I think
downright fair?
Yes, they've earned it. They've earned every penny of it.
Some of them haven't. Some of them haven't earned it. They've only just got into the House.
What do you mean? Well, those
new MPs haven't earned it. They've only just become MPs.
Well, they're not going to get paid a full salary in 2 months, are they? They've got to wait 12 months before they get their full salary. You're not listening to me, are you?
You didn't say that.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
I say for the hours they work, the responsibility...
You didn't say what you've just said before.
Anyway, I'm not arguing about that.
You are arguing, that's why you came on. You were arguing at this moment.
I want to justify why they've got that pay rise.
Then tell me the justification.
The hours they work, Alan. Tremendous long hours.
Some of them never even go to the House. There is one MP for sure that's never taken his seat. He gets the money just the same.
That? Who's that, Alan?
The guy from Northern Ireland.
Who's that one?
I'm trying to think of his name, but the guy from Northern Ireland that has never taken his seat.
You always get one black sheep, don't you?
Well, are we to give him the money?
Pardon?
Are we to give him the money?
Well, for every hour he missed out, he should be deducted that, like I do.
So what you're saying now is that we should pay them the money, but we should pay them the money on the basis of a pro rata of their hours worked, yes?
Oh, yes, I'm all for
Excellent.
that.
How many hours do you think we should base it upon?
Oh, I think we should base it on 60-hour week.
A 60-hour... Why should MPs be required to work a 60-hour week when most people, and I don't include myself, are required to work only a 35-hour week?
Yes, but, I mean, you're...
No, not yes, but. You can't answer yes, but to that question.
35-hour
Why should
would be a red rose.
Why should MPs... I don't work a 35-hour week. It'd knacker me. I work considerably less than that. I was talking about people who actually have proper jobs.
Are
now,
you well paid?
Exceptionally. Will you now tell me why an MP should be required to work 60 hours a week to get his full-scale rate when most people are only required to work 35 or 40 hours a week for that full-scale rate?
Do you realise how much time is spent at home on the phone for the MP in the evenings?
I've just asked you a question. Would you like to answer it?
Could you just repeat that, please?
No, I've asked it twice. If you can't glean it from the information I've already given you, then I'm not going to bother repeating it.
It's not a 9 till 5 job.
I'm not interested in that. Will you answer the question I've put to you?
You cannot.
Will you answer the question I've put to you?
You cannot.
Will you
restrict
answer
an
the
MP
question
to
I've
work
put?
40
Will you
hours?
answer the question I have put
He
to you?
needs to be available
Will you
all the
answer the
time,
question
Alan.
I have put to you?
I'm sorry, I
Will
don't
you answer the
understand
question I have
Alan.
put to you? Then good night. You're obviously too thick to understand. How do, Russell?
Hi, Alan. I'd like to talk about violence. Right, a couple of months ago...
Stop saying right.
Okay. A couple of months ago, I was walking through the park with my girlfriend, and the park keeper comes driving through the park in his car. My girlfriend's dog was in the way. I shouted to the dog, to get out the way. And he got out his car, and he thought I'd said something to him, abusive. So I was starting to walk away, because I always walk away from trouble, because I'm not that sort of person. And then he turns me around, he smacks me in the nose, and breaks my nose. The police come, took statements, and I went to the hospital and everything. And it ends up that my damages were enough to get the fella done. So what do you think of that?
What do you mean your damage wasn't enough to get him done?
I mean, my nose was broke, but I went to the police a couple of days later, and all the swelling had gone down and everything. So
But the fact still remains there's medical evidence.
Yeah, but what do you think I should do now?
If you wish to, you can bring a private prosecution, but you'll need to pay for it yourself. You won't get help from legal aid or anything like that.
Whether you're considering a Citroen, Lada or Ford for E-Day on August the 1st, give the rest the big E for John Wilding. Right now, John Wilding is getting all excited by offering truly exceptional deals on all 3 of these makes, along with extremely low finance on selected models. You're always guaranteed John Wilding's excellent after-sales service too, and exceedingly generous part exchange allowances. So see how easy John Wilding makes buying E-Reg cars with Citroen and Lada at Banbury Garage, Westgate Morecambe, and Ford on the A6 Garstand.
It's back to school with Slater's for massive stocks of school uniforms at low, low prices. Why pay through the nose when Slater's stock the lot? Fully lined washable blazers from $11.99, school shirts from $2.99, trousers and skirts from $4.99, and ties and socks from 69 pence. More choice and lowest prices at Slater's. Branches at Preston, Wigan, Ashton in Makerfield, Lee, Bolton, St Helens and Warrington. Make sure your child goes back to school with Slater's.
Skipper of Burnley, the best of service. Skipper of Burnley, get you on the road. Skipper of Burnley, the family business. Skipper of Burnley for Ford.
You can buy with complete confidence from Skipper of Burnley. At Skipper, you're sure of a full after-sales and backup service from the Ford specialists in Burnley. And you'll get personal service too at Skipper, Eastern Avenue. Call Burnley 25991.
Skipper of Burnley for Ford.
How do, Dave?
Oh, how do, Alan? I'd just like to ask you a question on how you think 17-year-olds on unemployment, whether you think they get enough money, when they're signing on.
Dunno.
Well, I don't think it's enough, because
Obviously not.
No, because £18 a week, they expect you out of that to be able to pay board and different things and food.
Well, the problem is, of course, that your parents have kept you all that time. Another couple of years won't make much difference.
Yeah, but
What do you mean, yeah, but does you agree with me?
They've kept you all that time.
Does yeah mean you agree? Does yeah mean you agree with me?
Yeah, so everybody feels...
Hold it! Does yeah mean you agree with me?
Yeah.
Just what you need. What's that?
It's a new one-stop discount shop now open in Preston.
Oh, yeah.
And just what do I need?
Household goods, day-to-day things, and that sort of stuff.
But what about the prices?
Just how you like. Low.
How low?
Very low. Just what you need at the top of Fishergate, next to the cinema Preston, and also at Cleveley's.
Looking for a great day out for the kids, but want to enjoy yourself as well? Come along to Morecambe Leisure Park. Youngsters can spend a full day for just £1.50, and you can relax in the picnic areas, the modern cafe, or even have a drink at the bar. Morecambe Leisure Park is a great place for the kids to visit and a great day out for you. Phone Morecambe 424444 now for details.
They come from Preston,
London,
Buxton, Manchester,
Derby, Carlisle,
and all over the motorised world
for a car from International Ford.
So get your cars
new and used
on Route A6.
International Ford.
Hello, Stephen. Hello, Martin.
I don't know. I think the real couple's actions in Canada today proved the really the scum that they are. Show them to be the scum they are.
Explain yourself.
By accepting the fur jackets.
Oh, the royal couple, that royal couple.
Yeah.
Well, do they have a choice whether to accept these presents or not?
Of course they do. I think you should stand up for your morals if you don't agree with going on over.
But if you're representing the country rather than yourself, then surely you should represent the country's wishes rather than your own.
Or maybe they do, but there's no way I would.
You wouldn't, fine, but if you didn't, you wouldn't have the role to play, and therefore would not be able to make the contribution that that role makes.
Well, I don't think that they've proved anything, that they've done anything good by accepting them.
They haven't done anything good by accepting them or anything bad by accepting them. But if they rejected a particular gift by a particular nation, then that nation would feel rebuffed and may well not look kindly on this nation.
So what if they feel rebuffed?
Well, if they then cancel £47 million worth of import orders, which are our export orders, then it might not have been a good idea.
Well, that's taking it a bit far. I don't think
But they may well take it that far. Do you remember when Granada Television made and then the network played a film called The Princess?